Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I'm returning to you this afternoon for a Smash Mouth album review, finally, for another Smash Mouth Marathon studio album review for their fourth studio album, Get the Picture, that I got a chance to check out for myself to see what I was going to think of it. So I'm going to discuss what I listened to for all 15 songs. I'm including the Japanese bonus tracks along with it. So technically, it's like a 12-track album because it adds a bonus track, the "You're My Number One" radio remix. So I'm gonna discuss what I listened to for all 15 songs total, and let you know my thoughts on this album for their fourth studio album. So let's dive into this album review. Now, basically, it starts with the first track, "Hang On." I'm really digging this song. Basically, with how it's sounding, it sounds really good. Steve Harwell's vocals sound pretty good in this track, and just the way the overall drum work and guitar work sound, it sounds pretty on point, and it is a pretty entertaining track. So, really dug this track, and like I said, may Steve Harwell rest in peace, because he still will be missed to this day. But Hang On's getting a 5 out of 5. Really enjoyed this track. Always Gets Her Way is a pretty good one as well. Really like how it's sounding, and Steve Harwell's vocals pretty much resonate with me in this track in a good way. So really liking it. 5 out of 5 as well. Then the next song is "You Are My Number One," featuring Ranking Roger. This one had that kind of reggae kind of vibe to the song. I don't know if I was connecting with it, but it was okay. But it was a solid track. I didn't hate how it sounded majority wise, but it did entertain me for what it was going for, so 4.5 out of 5. Well, slightly entertained me a bit. It's a solid track, not my favorite, but solid. Then comes "Whole Lot of Love." This one did feel a little bit iffy, but it still worked for what it went for. So, for a score, I'd give this one a 4.5 out of 5. Steve Harwell's vocals have its moments where it's good and moments where it's iffy. Then comes "Spaceman," and I actually like some things about the track, but the overall way it sounds, mostly, it has its quirky moments where I don't know if I like it or not. But the track as a whole with Steve Harwell's vocals sound alright. So 4.5 out of 5. "Hot" is a solid one too. There's some cringy vocal pitches from Steve Harwell in this one that I don't know if I connect with, but it did do alright for as a song itself. And I think this was a single, if I remember correctly, but it did perform alright. So 4.5 out of 5. "Looking for a Wall" is a pretty strong track in my opinion. Like how the melody's sounding when the chorus comes in, it shines very well in the best way possible. It's one of the highlight moments in the track, the chorus, and I really like Steve Harwell's vocals in this song. So really dug this track. Definitely is a good song. 5 out of 5. "Seventh Grade Dance" is a pretty good one. I had to listen to it again a second time to see what I was going to think of it, but I think the track overall performed alright for what it was going for, so I'd give this one a 5 out of 5 too. It's pretty strong of a track, and it did perform pretty well. With Steve Harwell's vocals, and the guitar work and drum work was pretty good. Some of the mixing was pretty solid too. So 105 is a solid one too. Don't hate this track. I think it's alright. It's not a bad track. Steve Harwell's vocals sound good in it, but it's some of the melody has its on and off points where it's good or bad. Excuse my yawning. Uh, I don't know. I'm just getting a little tired for some odd reason. But basically, I'd give this a 4.5 out of 5 for 105. It's a pretty solid track. Not too bad. It's good in its own way. Then comes "Fun," and that's the second to last song for the actual regular edition. So there's technically at least 12 songs, but the 12th song's a bonus track. So "Fun" is pretty solid. Didn't hate it. Steve Harwell's vocals sound pretty good in this, and the way the chorus sounds, it's alright of a track. I think the verses were kind of the hiccups for the song, meaning it had its good moments and its bad moments, and I'm sorry about my yawning in this video. I'm getting drained for some odd reason from something. 4.5 out of 5 for fun. Then comes New Planet, and that was like 2 minutes and 18 seconds of a track. Wasn't very long, but it did do alright. So I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. Steve Harwell's vocals sound alright, and the overall mixing of the track and drum work and guitar work's pretty strong. There's a lot more instrumentation in this album than there was in the last album, but it still performed alright. Then comes You Are My Number One radio remix, and that's a solid one too, to close out the regular edition for the album. I think it did alright for what it went for, and Steve Harwell's vocals were pretty alright. The mixing was probably the highlight for the song, so I did like the remix version too as well. 4.5 out of 5. It's good. I wouldn't say it's great, but it does well in its own way. Get the Picture is one of the deluxe edition tracks, and I think this was a solid one too. Didn't hate it for what it went for, and Steve Harwell's vocals sound good. The drum work and guitar work is the highlight for the song, and just the way it sounds with the melody and all that, it did perform alright. 4.5 out of 5. Spooky Thing featuring George Clinton was a weird track. Kind of odd song, but I think it worked for what it was going for. It's a good track in its own way, so 4.5 out of 5. George Clinton's weird, creepy vocals where he says spooky thing. It's kind of weird in its own way, but I think it performed alright. 4.5 out of 5. Then comes the final track to close this whole album, Boulevard. This was like a 4 minute and 21 second song, but it did do alright. It's not a bad closing track, so give this one a 4.5 out of 5 too. I like Steve Harwell's vocals, and the way it's sounding pretty soft in this song, the melody mostly, did alright, so 4.5 out of 5. Overall, production, mixing, and execution wise, I think Smash Mouth's Get the Picture album was another pretty good album. Was really entertained with this album. I wouldn't say every song was great, but it is one of the strong albums in their discography, along with Astro Lounge, in my opinion. I'm actually digging how it sounded, this album. Not the best album, but I think it's one of the best albums in their discography. Probably second best. I think Astro Lounge is my all-time favorite, mostly. Maybe this one might be a competitor to being my all-time favorite too, because there were some strong tracks from this album. So first score for me, I'm giving Smash Mouth Get the Picture album for this fourth studio album of theirs an 8.5 out of 10. Pretty good listen. Highly recommend you check this album out in their discography if you haven't listened to the band Smash Mouth. And sorry about the background noise. My mom, my sister, and my nephew are talking to my brother-in-law on the phone. So basically, with what I listened to, I was entertained with this album. So 8.5 out of 10 for Smash Mouth Get the Picture for their fourth studio album. Thank you for watching this album review.